Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for April the 1st, 2020. Today I kind of want to talk about the politics of what's going on within certain sectors of employment. So we are kind of talking politics, but some will understandably say I'm not. To start, I want to address what's happening with supermarkets. They are considered in the United Kingdom an essential business, so all are staying open. Most major supermarkets currently have restrictions on the number of certain items you can buy. By this I mean you can only buy X number of loaves of bread, X number tins of soup. Things that are considered essential: chilled products, fruit and veg, meat, dairy. Yeah, there are restrictions in many supermarkets. But some supermarkets, though, have decided to remove certain restrictions, which could be because of the stockpiling that already took place and the summary throwing out of that because people are geniuses. It could lead to more panic buying. It is obviously down to the supermarkets to be able to ascertain whether or not they have the supply to fulfill the demand. Thankfully, governments haven't had to get involved in this, beyond declaring them an essential business, and most businesses that have remained open have gone to extreme lengths to make sure every customer is able to get what they need instead of what they want. Some, like Tesco, have gone so far as to limit the number of items you can buy when you do an online shop to 80, which I'm sure causes many problems if you then want spices, which are non-essential, so perhaps there aren't restrictions on them. Much like alcohol, there are no restrictions on alcohol in any of the supermarket retailers in the United Kingdom, whereas there will still be some for things like hygiene products. Currently, Waitrose is removing a cap on fresh food, which is meat, fish, poultry, and other fresh goods, which would include fruit and vegetables and yachts. Asda is removing limits on fruit and vegetables and chilled products, but Tesco, Sainsbury's and the Co-op are not changing their policies at the moment, which is annoying because, excluding the new Aldi in my town, those three are the main three retailers in my town. That's irritating. It's okay though, there's a Premier round the corner from me and there are no restrictions there, although the owner now does wear a full-on gas mask, which is highly amusing when he tries to say your name. It's interesting to note that, courtesy of figures from Kantar, more food was bought in the first 4 weeks since this happened than during the entire Christmas period. I guess when you're planning for one big day and not for 4 weeks, it's a bit different. But I find it quite amusing considering most people blow all their cash in December. One of the main problems for online retailers is that they only have a certain amount of space in a warehouse. So online shopping, there is actually a problem, because while more are now going to rely on it, they don't have the storage for it, they don't have the supply for it, which then causes people to either wait quite a number of weeks to then get their delivery, which is a problem in and of itself, but also the additional problem of having to go to the store and waiting in a rather long queue quite a fair distance apart. It should also be noted that one of the reasons these retailers, some of them, have relaxed the restrictions on things you can buy is, let's call it, an act of faith. The attempt to try and give them, the customer, the chance to donate to a food bank. That's what they're trying to do because food bank supplies are going low. I find this to be quite fascinating because the government hasn't really interfered much in this, and I'm glad they haven't. I've seen recent videos by Sargon of Akkad on his Akkad Daily channel, and he's very much against all that's happening. But I take a very neutral stance because I understand why it has to happen. Maybe it's an age thing, because I've noticed a lot of people older than me who don't quite grasp the problem, and the response that comes because of the problem, all just pouncing on it as if we should just carry on with the risk. But I get how it could shut everything down and how that is inevitably wrong. This all reminds me a lot of austerity. I wasn't a fan of it, but I knew why it had to happen. Many didn't. That's interesting. No offence to Sargon of Akkad, of course. I don't mean that to be disrespectful in the slightest. To move on to something that is political, though, we should talk about the police. The police have been told to be consistent when applying new measures introduced to stop the spread of the natty ice virus. This follows recent criticism that the police may have gone too far when trying to ensure people follow the rules. So what rules do the police now have? The powers, that is. 1, they have the power to detain someone to be tested if they are believed to be infectious. 2, They have the power to close a wide range of non-essential businesses. And 3. The power to restrict your right to move around and be part of a gathering. But there is an enormous gap between what the government would like people to do and the actual limits of the law in restricting movement. This restriction has come into force as a statutory instrument. That means it was created by ministers in each part of the UK with no debate or vote before it became law, which is where a huge issue arises when it comes to the democratic process. It should be noted, England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland do follow the rules broadly, but each country has its own regulations. This is why some nations in Parliament have themselves outright said, can people from different countries stop coming here, unironically, to then go hide in the Highlands? And that has been said in Parliament. This means that police officers have differing levels of discretion and there will be differences in how they are being implemented, which is where the accusations arise that some are being overzealous. So what can the police enforce, punishment-wise? If someone refuses to close a non-essential business, they can be given an on-the-spot fine of £60 reduced to £30 if paid within 14 days. The fine could go up to £960. Police can also issue on-the-spot fines or charge someone with a crime if they break 1 or 2 social distancing rules, i.e. leaving the place where they live without reasonable excuse, and 2, being in a public gathering of more than 2 people. So what is a reasonable excuse to leave home? Going shopping for basic necessities, exercise including with family members, and travelling to and from work if absolutely necessary. The police, however, cannot order you home if you're out helping someone else with their care, or off to the doctor, or carrying out another public service. It is also not a crime to flee your home if your intention is to flee harm. Yes, people have been talking about this in a number of articles I've noticed, but you can leave your home. So what did the police get accused of misusing their power over? Well, the most notable one is the Peak District waters, where they dyed the water black, but also following people who are walking in the Peak District with a drone. So what are the police being asked to do now? They're being asked to engage with people, ask them why they're out, explain the law and need to be inside, stressing the risks to public health in the NHS, encourage people to go home if they have no reasonable excuse, and only enforce as a last resort. They're trying to encourage common sense, but I don't believe many people within the force know what common sense is, and it is well established. If common sense was a qualification, no one would have it. Yes. Anyway, with this, with supermarkets and the police, I do want to know what you think. So please do let me know in the comments down below. As a final thing, I'm streaming on Twitch tonight. Link below. Plague Inc. Evolved. Natty Ice is going to take over the world. See you all there.